So do you want to share a screen with the prayers? Please. Okay, so before we start prayers, though, it's always good to start first step, what are we praying to? And so in front of us, we have Buddha Shakyamuni, which we should see as being inseparable from our teachers, whether it's Lama Zopa Rinpoche or other teachers. And then they're the object of inspiration. And so then, they've done it and we can do it. They've given us the path, so that's great. So they're our inspiration. The teachings are the actual refuge, and of course, the Sangha is our friends who help us in the path. So with that in mind, and then I always like to reference this way, because you could say I take refuge in the alignment of the Sangha by the means of generosity and so forth. So those are, of course, wonderful things. I mean, that's the standard refuge. But if you were to say it in terms of let's say I'll rephrase that. If we say, okay, I'm attending the class and, I'd like to become more enlightened, very good. But if you bring to mind someone that you love, even if it's a pet, doesn't really matter, and you say, I'm attending the class for their benefit, I'd like to offer a more enlightened relationship. It puts a different flavor in your motivation. And that's really important. If you follow the 4 basic rules of karma is definite, it increases. If you don't do it, don't expect the result, and it will ripen unless you do some purification activity. Particularly the third one, if you don't do it, don't expect the result. So although we are positively motivated and we have things, it's really important to touch on, for example, love. And so, for example, thinking of someone that you love, and you may say, oh, that's very mundane, but it's the start of a real emotion of loving all sentient beings. So here you start with one, and then you might be able to get a family in there, and you put a bunch of friends in there, and then you might be able to finally put all sentient beings. So anyway, I always like to think that I'm attending the class, even though I'm going to talk about it, I'm still attending this class for the benefit of the people I love, that may I offer a more enlightened relationship. And so with that, I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha for the benefit of transitory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transitory beings. I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transitory beings. And then with 7 branches of prayer, I prostrate reverently with my body, speech, and mind. I present clouds of every type of offering, both actually arranged and mentally emulated. I confess all my negative actions and downfalls collected from beginningless time. I rejoice in the virtues of ordinary beings and Aryas. Please remain until the end of cyclic existence, and turn the wheel of the Dharma for transitory beings. I dedicate my own and others' virtues to great enlightenment. Okay, so the subject we have is meditation. And last week, if you attended, I don't remember all the people, but I really wanted to put a lot of emphasis on breathing meditation. Yes, we have our commitments, whether you have big commitments or little commitments, we all have, prayers to do and mantras to recite. But the big benefit with breathing meditation is it's so close to you. You don't go anywhere for it. You don't, for sure, suddenly there's a traumatic thing and suddenly you're doing Tara mantra. That's very good. In fact, I totally agree with that. But sometimes in some situations, you just want to be present, but with some sort of a buffer in there to help you deal with it. And so that's where breathing meditations is so powerful, because it's something that you develop it. It's not something that tomorrow morning you have it, but over a period of a month or 2 or 6 months or whatever, if you focus on just, okay, my mind is attentive to the cycle of my breathing. What's so beneficial with that is, 1, you're breathing naturally. You're not controlling it, and it should be a relaxed, normal cycle of inhalation, exhalation. That's 1. So it means your body is comfortable. You are creating a conscious experience of, I'm comfortable. Maybe you're not focused on it exactly, but it is comfortable. Then the mind Natural breathing is one of the signposts for that the mind is fairly peaceful. And in contrast to when you're excited or agitated or stressed, your breathing is very short and normally in the upper chest. Or if you're asleep, it's down in your abdomen with a very deep sort of breathing. So natural breathing both relaxes the mind and the body. The other thing, though, is that if you really think about it, and this is something that, very central to Buddhism, your mind focuses on objects. So, for example, let's say there's a stressful situation, somebody right in front of your face and they're very upset. Your mind's on that object. Well, then you're obviously trying to figure out what to do, and whatever might be the appropriate response. Maybe you're defensive or whatever. Whereas if you shift your mind, the object of your mind is your breathing, and you have 6 months of experience on it, you automatically have a space there. And body's relaxed, mind's more relaxed. So, although again, I don't want to say that Mani Padme Hum and Tara Mantra aren't good. They're very good. I love doing them myself. But just for a completely natural way where you have suddenly personal space, a buffer, your conscious participation in a relaxed way with natural inhalation and exhalation is incredibly powerful. Then the big bonus with that one is you can shift it into other things. So, for example, last week, I brought up the idea of, we always talk about the voidness and then everything is interdependent. And often, there's different objects, but your very body and your breathing are an incredible object because we're well educated. Often, again, we talk about Tibet or such, in Tibet, no TV, no radios, no cell phones, no newspapers, really, nothing. So there was word of mouth, but the thing is, there wasn't something continually agitating them, And just look at the news. I watch Mexican news because I'm living in Mexico right now, and it's just, deaths and this and that and violence and corruption. And it's like you're inundated by negative information. And, it's sometimes it's useful and sometimes it's just not. But the point is that if we compare ourselves to the Tibetans in one way, different culture, so it doesn't work. Nowadays, the Tibetans are like us. Cell phones. In monasteries, they outlawed cell phones. So the poor little monks are hiding under their bed with their cell phone, and things. So anyway, the problem is that it's very hard nowadays. So we have a good education. We all have a minimum, most of us, 12 years of school, if not another 3 or 4 years in a college or university, if not then more years of studying the Buddha Dharma. So much. So we're well educated. And not that, we're also well educated about just the way things work. And you might say, well, why Jhampa talking about this? Because when you think about, for example, I'm breathing, well, most of us know that as you inhale, it goes into the tissue of your lungs, transfers over to the blood gets pumped to the heart, and then the heart muscle and such. And then, what's a heart attack? Well, one of the arteries or veins or something gets plugged, and then part of that muscle dies. There's so many things. And then our internal organs and stuff. We're well educated. In fact, we even know our skin is an organ. Again, I don't know that in Tibet they studied anything like that. Maybe a little bit, some of the doctors. But this is common knowledge for us. So when you sit there and you say, okay, I'm doing natural breathing, okay, then you can bring wisdom into that. I am not independently self-existent. Why? Because I'm inhaling, the air is penetrating my lungs, going to my blood, going through my body, down to the tips of my toes, up to the crown of my head. I am completely penetrated, and I'm immersed. There's not like, I'm right now in the air, and then over here there's no air, and I suddenly can't breathe. No, we're immersed like in a swimming pool or a fish tank. We are immersed in the atmosphere. And again, we know that. We know about the atmosphere. We know about all those sorts of things. So again, I'm immersed and I'm penetrated in the atmosphere. Every breath I take, I am 100% interdependent. There's wisdom consciousness off your breathing. And then also Tonglen. Tonglen is one of the best meditations you can ever learn. I've been 50 years a Buddhist, actually 51 years now. And I can say that most of my old friends that have been in there for 40, 50 years, we all agree Tonglen is the best meditation. It's a breathing meditation. And it can be a very elaborate one, with the stone in your heart, but it can also be just simple. you see somebody suffering, and the cognition is your inhalation. And if you recognize that it's suffering, you know that there's pain, your exhalation is compassion. It's so simple, nothing complicated, just natural breathing, no mental intellectualization on it, just whoa. And that's empathy. I mean, again, you know, we have tons of research now on human empathy. It's really interesting. I mean, and it's such a strange thing was that I was reading the article where the first sort of articles on empathy. It was a man who was testing a monkey about something, this and that. And they had them wired up. I don't know, I mean, not like really badly, but just wired up to sort of recognize they're doing something. And then he went into another room and he took an apple and he took a bite out of it. And the monkey's sort of monitor that was registering what was going on, the monkey's mouth salivated. He went, whoa, that's empathy. You know, he was eating my apple with me. So, you know, so when we talk about empathy, we just said that we're actually hardwired for empathy. So again, I mean, your breathing meditation is a jewel. It'll give you natural peace, a natural sense of stability. It'll give you a buffer. It'll give you a personal space. And then it can be used for your wisdom meditations. It can be used for your love and compassion meditations. It's such a foundation. And we don't have to be philosophical about it. We just have to, you know, common sense and knowledge. So again, I'm into the glee club of meditation. And on top of all of that, I mean, again, all the research on mindfulness meditation out of psychology, you're going to have better focus, you'll have better memory, your immune system will actually improve, and many other facets of it. Okay, so it's just really beneficial. So although we may do many different styles of meditation, it's very, very good. Okay, so that's just the first thing, is that don't say, oh, my Avalokiteshvara meditation is much more important. Yeah, it is. It's very good. But being in touch with yourself, being at peace with yourself, having that sense of openness, that's something that's really important. And then with that, and you have Om Mani Padme Hum, very powerful. Okay, anyway, so that was the first thing I wanted to touch on, and it doesn't involve problems. I'll give you an example. I had a friend of mine who was doing a retreat. Maybe some of you even know him. He's written quite a few books. Rob Priest. He's a very good friend of mine. And when I was in India doing my retreats in Tushita up there and beside in Dharamsala, he was in one of the little A-frame huts that was close by. And he was doing a particular sort of samadhi retreat, like a concentration, shine in the Tibetan language. And so he was working away at it, you know, like and trying a thing and getting quite stressed, and he'd get angry that he wasn't accomplishing thing. And then he finally had a dream, and he was up a huge tree, but he was on a branch that was coming off the tree, and the branch was dead, and he was clinging to it. And then he woke up, and he was pretty good at it. He's actually a psychologist, and maybe some of you know that. And he woke up and he said, I'm on a dead end and I'm clinging to it. What am I doing wrong? And so he looked at his meditation and he realized that it was so much outside of his body. I mean, some Buddha image over here and such. And although, you know, he should have been peaceful, it wasn't. So he then changed it. And actually, I'm not saying what he did. I mean, he did change his meditation, and he found it very much more beneficial. My way of thinking about this is this, that if you were to meditate on the Buddha, you don't do it like some sort of, like I'm sitting in my office right now, and 1 yard in front of my forehead is the Buddha Shakyamuni. That's going to give you a headache. What you do is you say, I'm in Bodh Gaya. I'm about 5 yards away from the Bodhi tree. I'm sitting on the grass. So and again, it's even Lama Zopa says now, imagine. Don't visualize, imagine. I'm imagining I'm sitting on a cushion. I'm 5 meters away or 5 yards away from the Bodhi tree. And there's Buddha Shakyamuni in front of me on a small throne. Okay, it's inclusive. Your body has been included in that. That's a much more holistic way to meditate, not to just have something like, visualize something without any context. Put your body there and say, my body is sitting upright and it's in good meditation posture and I'm feeling really comfortable and the weather's nice and there's blue sky above me and I feel good and I'm in Bodh Gaya, wonderful. And in front of me is the Bodhi tree, wonderful. It's so meaningful for me. So what you're literally doing is, for example, picking Bodh Gaya and the Bodhi tree is you're automatically invoking everything that you believe and feel about Bodh Gaya. So it's like you automatically blessed yourself by just putting yourself under the Bodhi tree, sitting on a mat. Then through Buddha Shakyamuni, and as I said at the beginning, it's inspiration. Wow, I mean, he worked so hard in his practice and stuff. So now again, there's context and it's much more fleshed out. Anyway, a little off topic, but I did want to touch on this because, we all meditate to some extent. And what do? Well, one of the nicest, simplest meditation, especially in our culture, which is very hyper, breathing meditation, just slows it all down. In fact, just again, I'm off topic a teeny, but for example, I have my commitments. I'm a FPMT teacher. I used to be a monk for 14 years. It's so silly. I mean, all of the commitments I had as a Buddhist monk, I'm still doing. And it's been 45 years since I was a Buddhist monk, or 35 years, whatever. Anyway, the point is that I haven't changed any of my commitments. But what I've realized is, for example, I used to do, let's just say I did Vajrayogini's mantra. It's 32 syllables. Or you could do Vajrasattva's mantra. It's 100 syllables. Okay, that's a better one because maybe we all do that one. Okay, so normally you on the crown of your head, blah blah blah, and then you do you do it pretty quickly because maybe you're trying to do 21, or maybe you're trying to do 100,000. It depends on particular. If you have the luxury of a retreat. And the thing is that we don't even know what we're saying, really. I mean, I can personally, I don't know what I'm saying too well. Now, if you get the translation, I mean, I've got a translation, and it's something like, you, Vajrasattva, you have a commitment. Please be with me. Please don't abandon me. Please love me. Please hold me. Please give me all attainments. Make my mind most glorious. Something like that. I can call it a love song to our gurus. I mean, it's really beautiful. Embrace me, hold me, don't let me go. Like that, and that's Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manu Palaya Vajrasattva Teno Radisa. So slowing your mantra down. Yeah, maybe you can't do the 100,000 in 3 months, which should be sort of what normally is expected. And maybe it's going to take you a little longer to do the 21, but you're doing something and you're actually accumulating karma because you got feelings and you got recognitions and you got thoughts. It's not just faith. Faith that if I recite 21, my negativity will not increase. So anyway, I'm not complaining at all of us and criticizing. I'm just saying, whoa, we got to slow down. Our culture is way too fast. Okay. So anyway, my point being is that breathing meditation, very good. It slows us down. We can still do Vajrasattva and all those other things, but maybe just put 10 minutes of breathing meditation that you say, okay, I'm in touch with myself. My mind and my breath are together. I'm not thinking about something else. I might hear I'm breathing. Okay, relax. And maybe you say, oh, gee, I've actually got a bit of stress there. Breathe into that area, make it a little bit more relaxed. Okay, I'm attentive to my breathing, it's relaxed. Okay. And then after 10 minutes or so, then switch over. Okay. Anyway, so it's a suggestion. I mean, I was asked to talk about meditation, so I wanted to give some context for it, that how are we dealing with ourselves, and are we dealing effectively with ourselves and such. And we certainly don't want to get stressed and such. So that's first point. Now, I used to translate for a Sakyapa Lama for a long time. I was in Canada, and he was in Victoria, about hours drive away, and once a week I'd drive down and translate for him. It was very nice. He's a really sweet guy. And I did that because he didn't speak English very well. And I mean, I spoke Tibetan fluently at that point. I'm a Galupa. We looked at becoming an FPMT center, but it was a bit complicated at that time. That was back in the early 80s, so it wasn't very organized then. So I went down and translated for him. And he had the best thing. He just said, when you're meditating and you start thinking about something, and of course, the thing is, you got to catch yourself. I'm off topic. I'm thinking about something. And then just say, this is my time for meditation. It was so simple, no complicated. Was it stress myself and get myself tighter or learn how to relax? No, it's okay. It's my time for meditation. So it was just a simple one, and that's been. I lead retreats on occasion, so I always try to use that one as the very first step of this is my time for meditation. I will think about that later. Okay. And then, of course, try not to keep thinking. Try to stay with your breathing. Okay. So that's the first one for distraction. And we'll mostly talk about that because I think, we're a fairly hyper society. I mean, if you're having trouble falling asleep, maybe drink a cup of coffee beforehand or find your best meditation time. For example, I'm a morning person. I meditate really well in the morning. For I am right now, it's 8:22 in the evening. If I had to do a half an hour meditation, it would be a disaster. And I've got years of meditation experience on my book. It's just not worth it. I mean, I can do 10 minutes. In fact, we'll do a little bit of meditation, but I couldn't do 20, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, especially if it was breathing meditation, and I'd die, go to sleep. So find your time and find out, like, hey, I'm a really good morning person, or maybe I'm a good night person. I do know people that are night meditators, at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, they can sit down and actually have a very good meditation. So find your time. So that's for being sleepy. But the bigger one I think we have is just always thinking about stuff. I mean, and the god of cell phones, our cell phone beeps and we immediately throw ourselves at it and say, who texted me? What Facebook message am I missing? And so we've got to stop that. I mean, we've got to try this sort of thing. So definitely, I mean, put your cell phone on sleep, or don't disturb me or whatever. But best even, maybe limit your time. Say, I watched a movie the other day. It was fun. It was sort of like everyone sat down at the table, and it was a family, and they had a bowl at the middle of the table. Everybody had to put their cell phone in the bowl and actually have a conversation with each other. And I'm sure, we all know, you go into a restaurant or a coffee shop, everybody's got their cell phone in front of their face, even if they're sitting with 3 other people. I mean, it's so crazy. Anyway, off topic, but the point is, we need to calm down. So breathing meditation. So one side is then, it's my time for meditation, such a simple technique. Now, the other one, which is it's the developing of a conscious perception. It's a state of perception, such. And what it is that my mind is open like the space of the sky, and the thoughts and feelings that I have are like the clouds and the butterflies and the birds that fly through it. It's a little harder, but it is something that you just sort of, you take a comfortable posture and you say, my mind is open like space of the sky. Okay. Now, it's funny. There's an interesting thing about space of the sky. Space actually, by definition, is non-obstruction. So space isn't a something. If we talk about space, it's not your identifying space. It's not like planet Earth is going along and space is going around it. That's not the way it works. Space is non-obstruction. It's just a mental label. So the planet Earth goes around the sun. It's not going through space. It's just space is non-obstruction. Okay. It's a little bit of sort of like, some tasty little tidbit. So when you try to make your mind open like the space of the sky, you try to make it non-obstructive. And then again, you have to sort of have that sort of deeper, it has to have some sort of sense of depth to it. And then that would be breathing meditation, actually. Again, that calms your body, it calms your mind. So you do some breathing meditation and you say, my mind is open like the space of the sky. And so when thoughts come, they can come, but you don't engage them. It's like, in the sky, it doesn't engage a white cloud floating through it. It doesn't engage a black cloud floating through it. It doesn't engage a bird, sort of stop the bird in the middle of space, say, you can't fly anymore. No, it's just non-obstruction. So with the various thoughts and feelings we have, we try to have that they go through. Now, it's important to define that, like, what is a distraction versus what is just sort of natural for a meditation experience. So you're sitting and meditating, okay, you have 5 sense doors. Actually, if you're doing breathing meditation in the way I described it last week, it's on the movement of your chest. It's not up at the nose. It's not on the movement of the chest. It's psychologically, they found that's better. It's put you more in your body, not up in your head. So you're just watching the movement of your chest, possibly the ribs, possibly the diaphragm, just that area. You watch that natural movement, and your body and mind become more peaceful and relaxed and such like that. Okay, so you get that one in place. And then, so you have 5 senses. You're actually focused on one sensation, okay? The other 4, you try to shut them down a little bit. I mean, so if you close your eyes, you shut that one down, or if you look only a meter or a yard in front of you, then that one's sort of pretty taken care of. Ears you can't do really unless you put things on your ears, but that's not so skillful. It's better to just sort of sit there. So a sound of a car driving by, a bird chirping or something like that, that's not a distraction. The distraction is, I wonder where they're going. Oh, is that a robin or is that a lark? That's distraction. So that your ear hears a sound isn't a distraction for meditation until you engage it. So when you come back to my mind is open like the space of the sky, you don't have to start to think, oh, this has got to be some deeply mystical thing. No, I'm in a state of awareness. Birds can fly through, clouds can go through, a car can honk its horn, a bird can tweet. That's it. That's just, you might label it even a little bit, a bird. I mean, we're our intelligence, but you just don't think, what bird or where are they? Or are they pooping on my car or something like that? You don't do that. So that's to give you a sort of a more bigger understanding of mind space like this. Mind is open like the space of the sky. And the other things like, okay, you can have I have a sensation of my body. Okay, well, that's more, okay, we're breathing. So that's sensation. Sorry, I can't do that one. Eyes closed or whatever. Nose, okay, you try not to smell anything particularly. Like you have incense. Actually, that's good for invoking. Remember I said that if you sat down and you imagine yourself in front of the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, with that comes all the other thoughts and feelings of Bodh Gaya, the Buddha, meditation, peace, love, I don't know, whatever happens to be your particular feeling for Bodh Gaya. They'll all get automatically invoked. It's no different than, for example, when you bring to mind someone you love, automatically comes these feelings. They're invoked by the memory, that object in your mind. So we're meditators. We're trying to become more enlightened. So you have your altar. You look at the Lama Zopa Rinpoche or the Buddha's statue in your thing. I mean, you're invoking something. That's why we have an altar space when we meditate, that it sort of invokes some of our spirituality. So that's having an altar. But just even our imagination, we can do it, it can have a fairly big effect on our body. So like I'm sitting under the Bodhi tree, that's an invocation. So when you're sitting and meditating, then again, having the idea of, okay, I'm open like the space of the sky. Okay, I'm peaceful and such. Okay, and I was talking about incense then, for example. Incense can be good. They say it has sort of a direct access to the brain. So if every time you meditate, you burn a good, a herbal incense, not one of these chemical ones, it could be beneficial. It sort of invokes some of your meditation. But the main thing is even just taking the posture, you're starting to invoke meditation because you're sitting in 7-point, posture of Vajrayana, whatever. So you take that, that's an invocation in front of your altar, that's an invocation. Move your attention to your breathing. And then what you will invoke is however much practice you've done. So a month, a week, whatever. And, even when you just flip over to go Mani Padme Hum or Tara, but you want to be a little careful because those are active meditations and you're trying to be peaceful because our culture is very, very busy. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. So we have now 2 techniques to deal with agitation. One is, it's my time for meditation. And the second one is, I'm open like the space of the sky, which is not obstructive. So when thoughts and feelings come, they can come. Okay, what would be an example? A beep of a horn. Okay, I don't think about that guy just ruined my meditation. Or why are they beeping the horn 3 times? Or why did that person's car alarm go off? Because there may be some noise or some truck drove by or something. No, okay, car alarm. It's fine. And then it stops. It's fine. That's just open like the space of the sky, non-obstructive, okay? So that's some instruction on the second point of how to deal with distraction, but I would like to open it for questions, commentaries, and thoughts because it's more beneficial. I'm just introducing ideas, is for us to discuss them and play around with them, okay? So microphone's on if you wish, or put your hand up, or whatever is most appropriate. I'm patient, don't worry. Even if it's an off-topic question, it's cool. Don't worry.
I don't know if it's a question or a comment.
Sure.
I think I resist having a calm mind itself. I mean, so, but I will totally try the ocean or the open as space. And remind myself, this is my time for meditation, put other things aside. There's always something that seems compelling.
Yeah. On the point of like, I don't like to calm down, and I'm not talking about you, I'm just talking in general about it. But yeah, it depends what's happened in our life, because, you know, if we have something fairly big emotional event in our life that happened some time ago, and, you know, we never really, I don't know, we didn't forgive it or whatever we needed to do, then, you know, when we calm down, we sort of get close to it. We don't like that. So we get busy again. It's just, just a comment. I'm not talking about you, but I'll give you an example. Okay. And so I did a 3-year retreat, and I'd been living in India at that point for 8 years. When I started the retreat, I've been in India for 9 years. So I've been a monk. I've been in India for 9 years. I hadn't seen my family for those 9 years. You know, I mean, they were doing whatever they were doing, you know, fine and dandy. So I'm sitting there and okay. And I've been well educated because I've been taught really well over those 9 years. And so I finally go into the retreat. I'm up on the side of a mountain above Dharamsala. You know, I'm in one of the huts of the Tibetan meditators that they gave me. It's great, you know, wonderful. So about 4 or 5 months into it, I have this image of this face over here. And I don't know, what's that, you know, and it's angry. I said, angry. I don't know what this, you know, and I'm doing my practice, I'm doing my mantras and stuff like that. So, you know, it was perfect environment, really good. I got the Dalai Lama, like, you know, 1.5 miles away from me, you know, I mean, all the other things. Hey, it couldn't be better. I'm in the Himalayas, you know, it's the sacred land. Okay. And I've got this little face over here, angry. And I thought, well, you know, what's that? So I carry on meditating, and it's still there, you know. I said, okay. So then I sort of said, okay, who are you? And, you know, listen, so I allowed myself to touch that. And lo and behold, it was me as a teenager, just frustrated as angry and hell, just really, really angry. You know, whoa. And I thought, what's that? You know, and then I went back, and yeah, it was my older brother. You know, I could say beat me up a lot. He didn't really beat me badly, but he pushed me around, and I was dominated by him. You know, I mean, he was the older brother. He was 3 years older. He was bigger than me. And, you know, just that. And I was, and then sort of suddenly I'm like, here I am. I haven't seen that guy for 10 to 12 years because he left home when I was still a teenager, you know, and things. And I'm carrying this luggage. Oh, wow. And so I had to start to, you know, accept that there was an angry me from 13 years earlier, you know, that was unhappy and frustrated and from being beaten up, pushed around, all this. And so I was like, wow, you know, so I had to sort of first talk to my mini me, my angry teenage me, you know, and I had to let him sort of get happy and things. And then actually I wrote a letter to my brother, you know, I mean, I could write letters when I was in my retreat. So I wrote a letter and I said, hey, do you remember what you were like when I was a teenager and you were things? And he actually wrote back and apologized, which is nice. And then later we actually met when I did go back to Canada. So I'm just sharing with you that if there is sometimes some problem, maybe we could just sort of like, I don't know, you breathe and say, okay, I'm going to inhale. I don't like to calm down. I'm going to inhale. I don't like to calm down. And I'm going to exhale peace to myself. And you do that. And then maybe suddenly you go, oh, well, actually it's this. You know, and Lama Yeshe said it perfectly. When you're a good meditator, you're a good psychologist. So that's just, I think it's a really interesting thing. And I mean, for me now, I mean, I just look at it like most of my purification meditations are about how I grew up and trying to resolve those, you know, and I've done a pretty good job. I still have ones that I remember suddenly I did that, and I go, and I shudder and I go, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. You know, I still have it. And I think last thing I want to have is when I'm dying that comes up, you know, and then I throw myself into a weird rebirth. No, I don't want that. I'm going to forgive. I'm going to forgive myself, you know, in this case. So it's really interesting. I mean, meditation is just so interesting. I love it, you know, because It's understanding yourself and getting to a better place with yourself. And as I say, breathing meditation can give you a great opportunity to do that. So I don't know if you wanted to hear all that, but it's fun. I think I'm in the glee club of meditation is the best. Okay.
Intellectually, I get that.
Yeah.
It's actually sitting down. That's the hard part.
Now, one thing to add to this, though, is just to say that, like, for example, Lama Yeshe was, again, he was one of my first teachers. I had lots of other teachers after that, but he was the one that had really an awful lot of love. And so if I'm going to do a meditation and I'm going to get more in touch with myself and there's some things I don't like, I'm going to imagine Lama Yeshe sitting there holding my hand and saying, it's okay, Jhampa, we can do this. And that's a big bonus. I'm getting the support from Daddy, so to speak. And so we don't need to think that I have to do this all on my own, like somehow discover myself or whatever might be me, or purify that motivation, purify that illusion. But rather, I can have supports in there, which is a loving guru and such. And so we don't have to think that we don't include those. We do. I mean, we should think of Vajrasattva and consort on the crown of our head if we're doing that practice is our guru. And he's sending us waves of good energy. And he loves us. Or if it's a guru that you have as a female, she loves us. So there's certainly, again, there's lots of, that's where Buddhism is so wonderful, because you have all these, it's so intelligent. That's just it. Buddhism is so nicely intelligent. Good. Okay, anyway. Any other questions? Okay. Now, the only thing I would like to say is that actually I've been teaching since 11:30 this morning until 5:30, because there was a big teaching I had to do, and I'm exhausted. So I'm not going to meditate. I normally would want us to do a 15-minute meditation, but I won't make it. So more questions, and if not, I'm going to call it quits for tonight, because I'm actually quite tired. So forgive me, please. So who was the one that said, I may quit early? Hey, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to quit faster than you.
That's me. That's me, Danny.
Okay. Anyway, so with more questions, I'm happy to talk a little bit, but I'm sorry, I won't meditate with you. Meditation 101. Yeah, those are from the how you say, FPMT has that meditation 101. Very, very good. My job is just to talk about it till we maybe think about things in various ways. So just to review and recap what I talked about, I gave you all the benefits of breathing meditation, why it would be a very good one to include in your general repertoire of meditations. Secondly, I gave you two techniques to deal with scattering or being distracted compared to falling asleep or being tired. And that was this is my time for meditation, or I'm trying to be more like the open space of the sky, non-obstructive. And if things come through, I will not engage them, which I talked about. Okay. Yeah, we actually did do 40 minutes. That was pretty good. So I'm really quite honest. I'm quite tired, so I'm going to call it quits. I'm in my 70s, so forgive me. I go to bed at 10 o'clock if I'm lucky.
I think it's a good example of modeling good self-care. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Oh no, good. And I'm really happy with this. Next week will be good. I won't be tired, and I want to talk more. We'll go into more details about how to meditate. So, but mostly, I think the important thing is that we could do a scholastic presentation, but I think it's good just to talk about things. And again, I try to open it that you guys can share, so it's not just me talking. That you share things and we sort of delve into them. So that's the objective in my mind for our 4 sessions. So we've just completed the second session. Any final questions? If not, let's do our dedication prayers. Okay, well, I guess we're dedicated. Okay. I'm sort of sad because I'm in Mexico and everybody speaks Spanish, and I speak Spanish too, but I like speaking English. Okay, anyway, so we won't do this in Tibetan. That'll be completely contradictory. Due to the merit, okay, actually first, okay, from arriving here at 5 to 8 or 8 o'clock, attending the class, participation, whatever way I did, that I dedicate to having a more enlightened life. And the meaning of that is, may I offer it for the benefit of all. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain a state of Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into the enlightened state. Bodhicitta. May the supreme jewel of bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase evermore, more and more. Okay, so wonderful to be with you guys. Big hugs. Take care. Hope everything goes well. If your winter's not too bad, and if you're in that part of the country where it's really snowy and miserable. Down here it was 85 degrees today. Okay, so big hugs. Next week, if you have questions specifically, email them to the host, Ella, I don't know, X-E-L-A, Ella? Shella, okay, I'm sorry, it's hard to pronounce things sometimes. Anyway, so email them to her, and then I'll be able to talk about them prior to the class, or in the class, but be informed prior to the class, okay? So that you have a whole week to do that. Big hugs, take very good care, and bye-bye.